Hey, what's up, guys? Tim Chuck here. Hope you're doing well. It's been a while since I've been in here putting out some new training, and the reason is my excuse is that we've been following some of our own advice, and I just got back yesterday actually from Hawaii. We took 4 weeks. This was one of our kind of bucket list goals was to spend 4 weeks with our three young kiddos under seven, and now's kind of the time because they're getting into school and activities and forming bonds and that kind of stuff. So we did the 4 weeks now. We collected a lot of awesome memories. But I also realized that a month is a long time. So I am at the same time excited to get back to work. And so with that, I wanted to share a quick training with you that I think you will find useful. And we are going to be digging into a strategy that I want to share with you around how to overcome paralysis by analysis and perfectionism using the scientific method, which there's an acronym for the scientific method. You might have heard of it. Pdca, which stands for plan, do, check, and act. Some people call it plan, do, check, adjust. I think of it as plan, do, check, act. And before I get into the specifics on that, just to lay the framework of what it's about and really what causes this paralysis by analysis. And let's just look very simply at any type of a goal. So it could be a project, could be a business goal that you're wanting to undertake, something that a problem you're wanting to solve. And what exists between today, current state, and future state, of course, is a gap. Now, the cause of the paralysis by analysis is us trying to anticipate all of the moving parts between where we're at and where we want to be in the future, okay? And so think about this as, we've got the step 1, 2, 3, and all of the contingencies. Well, what if this happens, and the unknowns and the current questions that remain to be solved in order to get past, step 2, 3, 4 along our journey towards this goal. So a good way to think about where this comes from is, again, we're anticipating all of these steps along the way and all of the potential roadblocks and questions to be overcome, etc. Now, the thing about that is, and why the scientific method is useful, is because in science, you start out with a hypothesis. You run an experiment with your hypothesis, you collect the data, and sometimes it doesn't give you all the answers. It doesn't get you to your goal, but it gets you to that next step where you've got new information, and that new information will allow you to get to the next step so that you can keep going along this process. So in other words, you have the hypothesis, and it's enough for you to run an experiment, take the first 1, 2, 3 steps so that you're going to be up here, right? And imagine you not knowing what you don't know, further up here until you've literally taken action and you've started to move forward with your hypothesis, take the first steps in order to gather more information so that you can continue. Now, this has a couple different benefits. Benefit number 1 is it gets you into momentum. It really gets you focused on, this is that first step, right? It gets you focused on that first step so that you can move forward, get into momentum, and start learning that stuff that is going to be required for you to take the next step and the next step and so on. So starting out with the focus on just that first step is the useful piece of advice. And so where does PDCA come into play? Again, the scientific method is, if we look at P, D, C, A. So that hypothesis, if you were to look at, let's look at like a software implementation. You're looking at a new piece of software, a new tool for your business, and that is where you do the plan, okay? So we do the plan in terms of all the things that we want to get done, and then you execute on the plan, and once you execute, you stop, you look back at where you're at, you gather the information, and then you rinse and repeat. So we're going to plan again based on all the information that we have, then we're going to execute, then we're going to stop, check our results, and adjust. And so these are the stages of continuous improvement. So this little wheel, if you were to think of it this way, is enough to get you to that next stage, right, of improvement. And then we ratchet up to the next stage. And it's a continuous thing that never really ends. PDCA, plan, do, check, adjust. And this is one of the kind of language patterns that we adopt within our internal teams by saying, okay, we've done the first 80%. Let's do a check and adjust. let's do a check and adjust means that we know that not everything is going to be perfect. So let's stop. Let's look at everything. Let's look at all the things that are working well. Look at the things that require adjustments, make the adjustments, and keep that thing going forward. Okay? So PDCA, plan, do, check, adjust. So when it comes to your goals, and I'll talk about a strategy here before we wrap up. And by the way, if you guys are watching this live, if you could let me know that you're here, hashtag live below, that'd be really appreciated. If you're watching on the replay, hashtag replay, that would be awesome. And let's talk about the other thing that gets in the way, which is how do we get everybody aligned and how do we get ourselves get clear on the goal so that we know that we're, even closing the gap. Okay, so you're clear on that PDCA, and the purpose of the PDCA is to really get past that paralysis by analysis by just getting started. And then we know we're going to stop, we're going to check how things are going, and we're going to keep going. So let's start with the goal. A useful way to think about the goal when it comes to, again, a project, anything you're wanting to accomplish, through the lens of, or the analogy of think of a football field where you have, here's you and potentially your team. And any kind of a goal or project, what you want to get really clear on is what does done look like, the end zone. And what we use here is the definition of done. So you're clear on, you've got a project that warrants putting some energy and some sweat and maybe some money into. Now you want to get really clear on what are the things that need to be true, your success criteria in order to call this thing complete. So software implementation could be things like we've shortlisted our top 3. We've made a list of our must-haves, nice-to-haves in terms of features. We've reviewed them with the stakeholders. So all of these things, if you're zooming to the top of that mountain, so it's like you're here, you're hopping in a time machine and you're interviewing yourself at the top of this mountain, and you're describing what needs to be true for this to be considered complete. And this will give you your definition of done. It can also give you like milestones. It can tell you how far you want to take a project. So for example, each quarter when we're coming up with our objectives, the things we want to get done, we'll come up with, for example, if you wanted to increase sales by the end of the quarter by X amount, do you want to increase sales by a penny? Do you want to increase it by 50,000, or is it by 10% or 50%? So that determines and tells your team how far you want to take it in terms of the project or the goal. Or in other words, how high is the mountain? So by getting clear on the definition of done, you can dictate and determine how high the mountain is. So if you want to, hire new team members, how many team members, and get really clear and specific on what done looks like. Okay, so definition of done gives us that goal. So we're very clear on where we're going when it comes to closing the gap. Okay, and the next thing is PDCA, right? So you're clear on the goal, definition of done. Now we just really focus and hone in on the breaking it down into a 1-week world. And so what we recommend, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, is once you're clear on your projects, okay? Now, this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the benefit of breaking it down into a 1-week world. So each of these steps, think of those as 1 week, Monday through Friday. And you want to focus all of your energy and attention one at a time on one step. At the end of that, stop, look back, and realize it's not going to be perfect, and do your check and adjust. So this is a useful conversation. We have it all the time when it comes to like your processes. Your processes will never be perfect. Get rid of the notion that they are, because there's, even if it's 1%, right? Tiny room to make a small improvement. That makes it fun. It makes you guys, when you think that things have to be perfect, then you assume that when they're not, you get upset, you get negative, and we start to blame people, etc. So we know out of the gates that things will never be perfect. There's always going to be that room for the PDCA, the plan, do, check, and adjust, which it's going to keep you guys always striving for improvement, right? Being solutions oriented and coming up with always better ways, even if it's to shave off 30 seconds here, a minute there, there's always going to be tiny areas where you can improve. And after a while, it becomes a habit. It becomes kind of fun. Rather than being disappointed when things aren't perfect, you say, okay, time to check and adjust so that we can continue to ratchet up and just get a little bit better every day. And if you can develop this habit with you and your team, it's going to become your secret weapon. Because if you have a team that's always every day looking at small ways, small Kaizen, small ways to get a little bit better, then that is like the greatest secret weapon. It's going to compound over time. And before you know it, you're going to be making some awesome headway momentum within your life, within your business. So guys, hope that's useful. I know it's been a minute since I have last been on sharing some training. Wanted to share this one just because it's top of mind, and we were talking about it literally this morning. So hope that's useful, guys. And other than that, have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.